It's like the nonsense of it is
Yeah, no, it's
clear and
it
apparent.
it's in my opinion, it's the ultimate legislative fuckery.
Yeah,
It's Biden and the people
it's not
that
Biden.
drafted this basically saying, "Go F yourselves, America." That's what this proposal.
Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 153. The boat is going to be steered by the handsome gentleman in black and white, Jack. We're going to be talking the new border bill that just passed. Jack, you're going to have to inform me a lot on this. I did do some looking, but I don't think I got nearly enough information.
Okay. Well, yeah, basically what we're talking about is the new proposed bill. Well, sent from the Senate. It still has to be voted on by the House. But it's basically the compromise. The meeting of the minds have come up with a solution to the what they're finally acknowledging might be a crisis at the southern border. The House had tried to come up with something of their own. I don't know how long ago that was at this point. Was that a couple of
Couple
months
years.
ago, Mike?
I think it was a couple years ago. HR2.
Okay, that was a couple
Yeah.
of years ago
I think
now.
it was like a year and a half ago.
Oh, I thought they tried to come up with something more recently, but they didn't want it joined with the foreign aid. They wanted it separate.
Correct. Actually,
And
I mean, correct. They did
and
HR2 soon after they took over.
Yeah,
the
why?
House.
So it's like a
Now,
year, under a
so
year.
so what happened? What happened was that was going nowhere. So the great minds in our U.S. Senate decided, a few of them got together, Democrats and Republicans, and said, okay, we have the solution to all of our problems. And I'm going to get into some of the minutia of the bill. Mike, I'm
Good.
sure you're familiar with some of this stuff. Zeus, you said not so much. Desiree, I'm not
Well,
sure. But I really wanted to talk first and kind of throw it around to you guys before we get into the minutia, is basically, what is the purpose of the legislative branch in a time of crisis? Because we already have heard about, since Biden's become president and he undid the Trump border policies almost on day one, within the first week. What
we
we're
had a
now
couple
looking
episodes on the border.
right, we have done several episodes on the border. And now it's easy to look back from 2021, Biden's first year, through the present time. We know of, I think it's anywhere from 6 to 8 million illegals have crossed the border, been processed, and given their walking papers, so to speak. Welcome to the United States of America.
That we
And
know.
now, and there was a month, I want to say it was December, where 300,000 that we know about crossed in 1 month. It was about
That's what we know about.
300,000.
Yeah.
And well, it's always, the numbers are always the ones that we know about, because they know they have cameras. They know of these other ones that don't ever get processed, that are just slipping through the cracks, but they're not counted. So what we're talking about is, everybody, the whole world's acknowledging, Biden fans, Democrats, independents, everybody has to acknowledge the elephant in the room, that there's a fucking problem at the southern border when you're dealing with numbers like this, and we see the migrations, we see the marches. So Biden said, well, those Republicans, they complain about the border, but they're tying my hand behind my back. They won't do anything to solve the problem. And I think that's the whole point of this bill. But we can talk about that too, is to shift blame.
Oh yeah.
But essentially what they did is they really want more money to go to the foreign sort of wars and battlements that are taking place. And so they decided to attach border security to money for Ukraine, money for Taiwan, money for Israel. And this is sort of slipped in there, and they call it the border security bill. Now, it's really not, and we'll get into that. But what I consider this,
What do they call it? Pork belly? Is that
oh
what they
no,
call it?
but I know, but they add insult to injury when you break down the financial numbers. Like this has got almost nothing to do with securing the
You know,
border at all.
the only
And
part that I did read was talking about, like, I'm reading about the border bill. I'm thinking this is about the border. And then I'm seeing money to
No.
Ukraine, money to Israel. What
Mhm.
the fuck does that have to do with anything on our border?
Well,
Again, it's like
that's the beauty of
if you don't want to if you don't want to help with the border, you want cancer kids to die. It's like the nonsense of it is
Yeah, no, it's
clear and
it
apparent.
it's in my opinion, it's the ultimate legislative fuckery.
Yeah,
It's Biden and the people
it's not
that
Biden.
drafted this basically saying, go F yourselves, America. That's what this proposal is. And I need to cite, before we get into it, I need to give you this quote if I can find it. Hang on a second.
Oh, wait, is it a picture of George Orwell saying, I warned you about this like 50 years ago?
No, no. Let me
Although
see if
that's
I can.
apropos.
Okay, so wait a minute. Mike, you probably saw this, but here's the quote from the Democratic senator from New York, Chuck Schumer.
Hmm.
It says, and so here's the quote: the Senate's bipartisan agreement is a monumental step towards strengthening America's national security abroad and along our borders. This is one of the most necessary and important pieces of legislation Congress has put forward in years to ensure America's future prosperity and security. Now, and I'm sure he said that in front of cameras with a straight effing face. And I can't believe that. And I think once we get into the details of this bill, you're going to get a little glimpse of what I'm talking about. The idea that it's suggested that this is a border security bill is a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
Yeah.
And I'll get into it, but Mike, you're waiting to say something. I'll
No,
pass
no,
to you
I'm just
for a
saying
second.
with Schumer, and Schumer is like one of the best examples of this, but and I hate saying this, but listen, this party, they're not our they're not opponents of liberty. They are the enemy of liberty. They are a hostile presence that is doing everything they can every day to strip us of our liberty. That's what they wake up in the morning thinking about. And Schumer is probably one of the worst. And the fact is, Jack is absolutely correct. This bill had nothing to do with border security. Not a little bit. Nothing. All the money that they were sending down there was just to hire more bureaucrats to process more people through. And then there's this whole canard about giving the president power to shut down the border. He has that power right now. Like this whole thing is just politics. I mean, it's always just politics. But this is the worst because again, if we had a functioning press in this country that would even ask one question of these people, the emperor has no clothes, everyone would see it, but they all just parrot the same language. And there's people out there, they call it the border security bill. That's what they dutifully call it on CNN. It's an amnesty bill. It's going to give amnesty to everyone already here, and it's going to allow up to 5,000 people a day to come in. And I mean, again, this whole thing of Democrats, Republicans, and I know earlier on the text thread, it's so clear. There is no Republican and Democrats. It is a uniparty, is a globalist uniparty, and it is the people versus DC. That is the paradigm you're in right now. It has nothing to do. I mean, don't even get me started on this impeachment thing that failed with 3 Republicans voting against it. I know it was 4, but one of them did it for a procedural reason. But anyway, the fact is the Democrat Party wants zero border on either with Mexico or with Canada. That's what they want. And you can tell that's what they want because everything they're doing is pointing to that. It's not a mystery. We had to hear for years about how the border's secure under oath from these idiots. And now they're trying to, like, because it's an election year, they just want that talking point. And if the media wasn't so, like, they're not even a separate media, the media is the party, they're not going to give any sort of, like, critical attention to this. So luckily this bill is not going to pass. I mean, it's not going to get through the House,
No.
but they don't even care. That's how you want to talk about cynical. They don't even care about that. They just want the talking point.
Well,
That's all they
right.
want. That's the whole reason they did it.
And well, right, Mike, and like you said, as far as maybe some Republicans still seeing this for the farce that it is. I know that Scalise and the Speaker of the House, Johnson, they've gone on record with the press as saying we're not even voting on this. Like, this is not happening.
Yeah, right.
Like it's an insult to the American people. So,
Yeah.
but as far as the people that crafted it, there's an independent who used to be a Republican, I believe, Kirsten Sinema.
Mhm.
She was a big part of this proposed legislation. I think also a Republican from Oklahoma. What is his name? Let me find it. James Lankford.
Oh, Langford. Yeah, they kind of put him out in front on this.
Yeah, they did. I don't know how he allowed that to happen. If he thinks this is a good bill, I mean, that's kind of a joke. I would say if you vote in Oklahoma,
Yeah.
I would, whoever's running against this guy,
Yeah.
as a Republican, just go for it.
Yeah.
Just go for it.
I mean, look, the thing is, until these people, I mean, they've not just voted out, I mean, just the whole bureaucracy. The thing is, we're beyond the elected officials,
Right.
the elected quote unquote representatives. It's the entire mechanisms of the entire federal government that has been, it's rotten to the core.
Oh, and you get to see some of that in the doling out of finances in this bill. It's really amazing because you always talk about the bureaucracy that is our bloated federal government, like the amount of money of Americans that's poured into this machine for people that are just hired by cronies and to fill HR departments and to push forward DEI. It's amazing what happens in our government that we have, that no matter who you vote for, that machine's already in place, like you said.
Yeah.
And you get to see some of that in this bill as well.
And one last thing, and then we also
go
have
ahead.
a media, like if my pen is a microphone, we have a media that's not a media. They're a propaganda service, like legit. And so they'll say, hey, what about the border security bill? Like they use the same language. The rhetoric, like it's almost like what they're doing with Trump, where the process is the punishment. People keep talking about these court cases and things like that. Like, oh, is he going to get convicted? Is he going to go to jail? Can he run as president? If he's been convicted felon. All of that misses the point. The point is the process that they're putting them through is the punishment. Now, Trump is a freak, and he makes them stronger. So I don't even know. The guy's crazy. I mean, I don't even understand how he does it. But I'll tell you one thing. It's making sure that anyone else that wants to go up against this juggernaut is going to think 50 times against it, and their wife is going to tell them not to do it, or their husband's going to tell them not to do it. Their child's going to get on their knees and beg them not to do it, because our government is an authoritarian tyranny right now. And if anyone goes up against them, they get crushed like an aluminum can. And Trump is an anomaly that he's like withstanding this stuff. But anyway.
Yeah, no, the only one comparable to withstanding just whatever slings and arrows they can throw at him so far that I've seen is Musk. Musk seems to be, he's still strident in his posts about what he chooses to attack in terms of the culture, and pointing out the way that they're sicking, the law against him as well for these ridiculous, lawsuits that they're hitting him with as well. Like he doesn't hire enough, aliens, I guess. You know what I mean?
Dude, they arrested Killer Mike after the Grammy Awards. Did you see that?
Yeah, what was that about? Why did he get arrested?
I'm not sure all the reasons, but like 48 hours earlier, he came out saying there's no way he would vote for Biden.
Oh, that's right.
So,
Yeah. I didn't. Yeah, it's so obvious. It makes sense.
Right.
It makes sense. But
Yeah, the other thing they're talking about is whoever Taylor Swift goes with is gonna be the president because she's got so much fucking heat.
I mean, if 12-year-olds vote,
yeah,
Yeah, I agree. But
Yeah.
that's the other thing they're talking about is
and not saying all our fans are 12 years old. I'm saying a lot of them are, and they're the people that are older. I don't think I think Desiree, you like some Taylor Swift. I like some Taylor Swift.
I like some Taylor Swift. She's
but I'm
fine.
not like, let me have Taylor Swift tell me what to do. I mean, you got to be like 10 years old to.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I don't know. I have so little faith in some of the masses that I think all it's going to take for some 18 to 30-year-olds, especially, dare I say, women, they're going to listen to Taylor Swift. They're certainly not going to turn around and vote for Trump because Taylor Swift said vote for Biden. I mean, they're just not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'd like to think they would, but she does have some sway amongst people that just eat up the pop culture and whatever they say, it's popular. Oh, I want to be like Taylor. You know
I
what I
don't
mean?
think so.
I don't know. I hope I'm wrong.
I hope you're wrong
But
too.
just a couple other things, because you mentioned the impeachment. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, the little bald creep Mayorkas, right? The total pencil pushing, ass kissing douche that he comes across as.
Yeah.
When they were
Benedict
having
Arnold.
his impeachment hearings, which I think you already said, Mike, pretty much goes nowhere.
Yeah.
Senator Josh Hawley was going at it with him, like really insulting his performance, which you can't argue.
You can't.
And
argue.
Mayorkas must have known I can't really argue against what he's saying as he vilifies me, so I'll do this instead. And Mayorkas said, I can't believe you're speaking to me this way. My mother is a Holocaust survivor.
Oh, Jesus.
I know.
That was his defense.
That was his defense. But here's the thing, and here's
like
the thing
that. Like
with those
no,
hearings-
but, like let me just let that sit there, because that actually happened.
that actually happened.
That happened. It's on YouTube. You can find it.
Wait, let me ask, how does that apply?
It's a soundbite, man. I mean, here's how the game works. Mayorkas, like, because I watch these hearings because I like sticking hot needles in my eyeballs. So I watch them, and I see the back and forth, and I like rhetoric, so I like seeing that. But none of it matters, because anything that matters is legislation and action. Like, there's a lot in DC right now where people like to get up on a box and like we do here on the podcast, except we're not elected officials. And then they think it's a problem.
Alan Wilkes, 2024.
But they don't actually do the work. And the reason they don't have to, and the reason why Mayorkas will go there, which seems inhuman. I mean, to sit there, I don't care who you are, I don't care what you believe, to sit there in front of the dais with, a dozen lawmakers, senators, who are, again, I'm not a fanboy for Congress critters, but a lot of senators are accomplished people. They're lawyers. They've been in litigation. They've been around. They know how to handle themselves rhetorically. So to sit there in front of these people for 3 hours and get berated, there's no fun. I mean, I'd rather go for colonoscopy than do that. But the reason he doesn't care about looking like an idiot is because he knows that the party press isn't gonna publicize it. You can't turn on CNN and see that thing that Jack's talking about, where Hawley lays him out. They're never going to show it, and he knows that. And so no one even knows who Josh Hawley is outside of people that are interested in this stuff. So they get away with it because they know that they have an obedient, to use Levin's phrase, Praetorian Guard press that is an activist force that will hide the bad news and push the propaganda forward. And that's the only reason why, because it's inhuman. The stuff that he's been insulted to his face for hours and hours and hours and hours in front of do they call him like every week? It seems like every 5 seconds Mayorkas is back in front of
it does.
the House of Representatives. But I'm just saying, yeah, you can look on YouTube, but 95% of people don't. So they don't even know. There's people that they don't even know who Mayorkas is. They don't even know that he was being impeached. Most people, don't even know that.
Back to the
Zeus.
bill, what I do know of it, it almost seems like it's not really, and I know I'm kind of restating what you guys said. It's almost like it's not a border bill, it's a foreign aid bill,
Yeah.
and the pork
Mhm.
belly is we'll throw
Border.
some money towards the border.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It almost it's so offensive to me. Like right now, I was looking at the news today, on the World Wide Webs, and the thing is something we've got to talk about again. But it's like, why are we doing this? You got these people in Maui that they're clearing out 2 houses a day. They're blocking people from going to their own homes to get their stuff. They're actually just waiting them out so they leave so they can buy the property. It's so apparent that
Is that still going on? I mean, honestly, I dropped off of the story. I haven't followed up.
it's
Same.
like, yeah, there nothing's happening. They're waiting these homeowners out so that they'll just leave and find somewhere else to live and be refugees of sorts somewhere else. I'm just appalled at the current state of the government. I don't like any of them. It's like there's that the money we're giving to Ukraine. And listen, guys, let's be forthright with this. We were all team Ukraine when that stuff started.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we were.
Mm-mm.
We were blue and yellow. We were like,
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we can go back.
I
We did
don't
3
think so.
episodes.
what?
We did 3 episodes on
Yeah,
it.
we did. We were like, this is bad. Good for them. Fight. We were
Yeah,
on
but
the
I don't think we were all on board. And I know Jack wasn't for like just having us as a country jump in
that I agree with. Yes,
with money.
But
and
we're like,
everything else.
I hope they win. Blah blah blah.
Well, I remember we talked about the pro-Zelensky propaganda being thrown in our faces a lot too. I mean,
Yeah.
like I remember us acknowledging that we were getting a one-sided, and it was easy to do. It was very easy to
course.
do because I mean, Russia invaded their country. I mean, it's
Yeah.
easy
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
behind
No.
the
And
underdog.
I'm not vilifying us, but we changed our spin on it a little. And
Well, how much? No, my thing
No,
is how
but-
much money's enough.
No, and I think it's well placed change in our spins, but it's getting so overwhelming, like the chicanery and the bad behavior from this party. And by the way, Mike, I was going to say earlier, I'm giving you free reign to say the party as much as you want.
Yeah.
'Cause I'm fucking done.
It's what it is, man. I used to say it to be funny, and now it's just a fact. It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
just waiting
everybody-
I'm waiting for it to be called something other than the Democratic Party. That's how displaced I am from the whole.
They're gone, dude. The Democrat Party is dead.
Yeah.
I'm saying
and
it
that's
is.
because-
They've been dead for years.
All right, so back to the
Yeah, I'm sorry.
border.
I didn't
No,
mean
that's
to-
okay. We may as well unpack the bill. I mean, I referred to it, Zeus, you just acknowledged it. This bill is basically made where the fraction of the money being allocated is to secure the border, quote unquote. It's really just like fine print, and you got to
It's
really
$3
read the
billion,
fine
it's
print.
like a small number compared to the amount.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, basically, I think I read one article that said the bill spends about 400% more on foreign aid and war than it does to its own border.
Yeah, do you guys want to hear the money breakdown?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, but you can throw it out there, Des.
Okay, it directs about 20 billion to additional enforcement at the border of the US-Mexico border to combat
20
drug
billion?
trafficking.
It's not
20 billion.
enforcement.
Oh, 20 billion. Okay.
About 60 billion in additional aid has been earmarked for Ukraine.
Yep.
A large part of this would come in the form of weapons and military equipment. Around 20 billion of that is to replenish the US stockpiles of equipment transferred to Ukraine. And another 13.8 billion was allowed for Kiev to buy more munitions from US suppliers.
Jesus Christ. Why don't they just
directs-
give them the munitions. Why do they have to fucking give them money that can be laundered and stolen? And
Yeah, here's some money
why
to
don't we
buy
just
some
give
stuff
them
from
the
us.
munitions and subsidize the companies?
Well, either way, we're paying for it. So what else?
No, wait,
It
but
directs
you understand what I'm getting at?
Yeah,
is
I
that
do.
directs
money, they can fuck with it.
14.1 billion to Israel.
Mhm.
Around 5.2 of that funding is allocated in missile defense systems. That's not money. Bill allocates 2.4 billion for operations around the Red Sea, which I don't even know what the hell that means. The 2.6 billion on efforts to deter China.
That's Taiwan.
Yeah, we replace.
Okay,
yeah.
a couple of things. They also give about 3 billion to Gaza. Okay, so go figure.
They're giving money to both sides of that.
Yep. And then about 20 billion of all those billions is technically for, like Des called it, border enforcement of the law, which is a big effing joke because the law on the book says that what's going on down there shouldn't be going on down there. And like Mike, I think you said it, with a stroke of a pen, Biden could close the border right now. That's all he has to
opened it.
do.
With a stroke of a pen, he got rid of
I hope he has a
and he
stroke.
got rid of Title 42
Yep.
with a stroke of a pen within
That's
a
mean.
week of being elected.
I don't like him.
And then we're supposed to play the shell game, and really it's the party and their propagandist media, and then it's the informed portion of the electorate, and then it's the uninformed portion of the electorate. Those are the three groups that are, and the news coming out of the propaganda press is targeted towards the uninformed. They threw everyone else overboard years ago. I mean, they don't care what we think. Like, they want to suppress the views that we have. They want to kick people like us off social media networks. They want to shame people like us from ever speaking. They don't care about us, right? I mean, literally, they're like, whatever. They're talking to the uninformed, and that's
I think this like societal illness that's going on, it translates. I'm not going to get too involved in what's going on at work, but I think it translates to that. It's okay to make accusations on somebody based on their views. They're a bad person. How can we cancel them? So, I mean, it's really a dark period. This is gonna, 500 years from now, this may be like the dark ages where we just fucking wipe the slate clean.
No, they're coming.
We just look like idiots. Everybody.
Speaking of hearings, I heard this was today or yesterday, and I'm sorry, I can't remember the gentleman's name fully. It was like Mr. Loman or something. He was a former military guy, Marine or whatever. And basically his point, he said that he was talking about a conversation he had with this woman who escaped, her family escaped Mao's China back in the day. And they were down at Black Lives Matter Plaza, which is like right near the White House. And they had been talking about like taking statues down and things along those lines. And her point, this is this man relaying this story. He was like, or she was like, you should keep this written on the street forever. It should be like a national monument. Like, don't ever paint over it. Don't ever take it down, because you need to remind people that there was a Marxist uprising within 2 blocks of your White House. Like, you need to know how close it is. And she was like, and honestly, that's a good point. I mean, I'm not like a special pleader for statues, but on the other hand, it's like, what do you do? What are we doing when we erase all of this stuff? We put it out of mind. Again, it's like another Marxist ideal. Like, history begins today. There is no yesterday. History begins right now. And that is, as a culture, that's like super duper dangerous. Anyway, I just thought that was a good point, because I was like, I would like to just leave that there then. Just get some poly, put it on top of it to preserve it, and then we can all go and look at it, just like we used to go look at the Robert E. Lee Monument.
Yeah, well, I'd like to think there's a future in this country where people will recognize that as a Marxist group that did that
what I'm saying.
No, I'd like to think that that happens, but it is pretty dark times. And
Yeah.
like I think I've said it before on this show. I think, and because you talked about the uninformed, the misinformed, right? That's what they're preaching to. And I'm more and more convinced every day that they want us entertained, misinformed, broke, and stoned or drunk or whatever.
Yeah.
Just broken spirited people that are watching Netflix, getting high, barely making their rent, and watching the news occasionally to be completely misinformed. That's what I think that they want. And the more they can do that, the more this country's in danger of even more like real, like Zeus, I think, mentioned the dark ages. Like, I mean, it's getting pretty bleak that we're all counting on a playboy billionaire a-hole to try to come in and save the country. Like, that's how desperate the times
not a
have
good
gotten.
strategy. Yeah.
No.
I mean, and yeah, I mean, here's the thing, Jack, and like what you're just saying, I mean, it totally rings true. It's like what we're dealing with now as a society, and I just lost my train of thought immediately.
Damn.
Fuck. It was
I
such a
hate when
good
that
point.
happens.
It'll come back.
Left.
No, okay. If you want to jump in, I just
Yeah.
wanted to talk about. Let's go back to the bill. Now, I'm terrible. Like I'm checking out a bunch of different articles and videos, and I'm jotting down like notes as I go, and so they're all over the place. But some things that I thought were noteworthy, like Dez has got the PowerPoint thing down. It's all
Yeah.
organized. It's this is not organized. This is
No,
just it's
but
not.
you can paper, you can like rattle it and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. But
I did-
here's one thing again, Mike. Yeah.
Oh no, I just remembered. It's just a small point, and maybe we should do another episode on this. But I had a real dark thought a couple weeks ago. So it's
I
like
had those
why,
lots.
why
I have them constantly.
it's like, why is all this stuff happening? And I'm starting to think, okay, you look back at like my personal favorite episode, which I think is number 23, robotics, AI, supercomputers, and you.
Oh, that was a
That's-
pile of shit.
Yeah, no, that's a keeper.
And what we warned about in there, just follow me here for 2 seconds. I'll be very fast. But you've got the rise of robotics, you've got the rise of artificial intelligence. What does artificial intelligence do for us? It's like, hey, I'd like to hear a story about the Friends of Zeus podcast, and when they went and invaded Nicaragua and took over and whatever. I mean, and then they'll write a story and you can watch it, right? So you don't even need a writer anymore. And we have
Never got above 50 subscribers.
We got Roombas cleaning our floors. We've got Boston Robotics coming out with robots that
Here in Fairfax,
it's going to be like the Jetsons and stuff like that. Here's my dark thought.
Wait, Zeus, wait a second. He's making a point.
I'm applying to his robotics thing. In Fairfax, they have robots that deliver shit. They just cross the street. They just drive around with stuff in them going to different
cars. Cars are going to be automated. My point is, here's where I think we're going. I think you've got, again, this separation between incredibly wealthy people and like everyone else, right? The globalist elites. They don't need us anymore. They don't need us anymore. They have robots. Like, wouldn't you rather, like, Zuckerberg's buying like all those acres on Hawaii? Does he really need helpers, or can he just use robots now? Like, are we really? I mean, is the vast majority of humanity considered surplus stock to the World Economic Forum people?
Batteries.
It seems like that's where it's going. I'm just saying, they keep talking about viruses. They're leading us towards war. I mean, headlong into it. Like, it's like this administration has their foot on the pedal, running us into like as many conflicts as possible. I just had this thought. I'm like, they've made a decision that they don't need 7 billion people on this planet anymore. I mean, why not knock it down to 500 million people?
Yeah, they've been talking about that for a long time, and that should be an episode.
And it's achievable. It's totally achievable.
We should
No,
do
and also
things have changed a lot.
No, they've already had. I mean, there are clear trends toward depopulate. There is a depopulation number that's growing in this country as far as the number of kids being born into average, like the amount of propagation going on.
Yeah.
And then you add to it, you make it more difficult to start a family financially. You are trying to make abortion legal through birth. And what's interesting about it too, well, this is its own episode.
It's its own episode.
It's
just
its own episode
yeah.
because there's several different directions to go in with that. But
I mean, 7 billion people is a lot of people.
it really,
Yeah, but there's a lot of
Really
empty
isn't.
land. There's a lot of empty land. We
yeah,
If
we're
we-
getting better technologically at feeding masses. Like,
Yeah, I don't know
we've
that we
gotten
have-
pretty good at it.
necessarily need to depopulate. We should
No,
be.
but you got-
exploring space more.
You got Gates buying the farmland. You've got the
Mhm.
whole
And
GMO and China, artificial meat, all the whole climate change
Mhm.
fraud is really just a degrowth movement, right? I mean,
Mhm.
it's really it's like what better way to save the planet than just get rid of a bunch of us
People.
people?
Well, how about my
Mhm.
argument to the depopulation is we're letting 5,000 people into the United States a day. We got space.
Well,
plus-
I mean, they also want to alter the demographic, but that we should get into that a little bit because one of the things talked about is they want guaranteed Democratic voters for generations, and they want more population of their choosing because then they can increase the number of electoral votes that they would have in certain states. Like that will tilt based on population as well. And also, if they infiltrate the purple states and the red states with more of these people, they're also just going to flip states. Like there are a number of close call states now.
They're already doing
Okay.
that with Texas.
They're
That's the
they're already
goal.
doing that. They're
They've
doing
They've
that.
Technically-
said it. I mean, they've said it.
Yeah, they
It-
have.
On it. They're sending people to New York, a very democratic state as
Mhm.
of recent. They're sending a bunch of people that they can pretty much. Well, let's also put in what is it, like a $30 billion bill to give them debit cards so they can buy things. Well, sure, they're
Mhm.
gonna vote for us.
Yeah, of course. That's what I'm saying.
So-
Yeah, and then also that could increase the electoral college. Am I right about that, Mike? Well, they'll basically
so-
they can.
Yeah, so if you look at, and again, all these things matter. If you look back at the last census in 2020 and leading up to that, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Trump was all about having a question on there, which used to be on there about questioning your citizenship status. Well, all the people in the party, they flipped their lid over that. Like, you can't have that. There is a difference when you're talking about a republic between inhabitants and citizens. And what the party has done is they destroy everything.
Money do.
They are destroying citizenship. So now you listen to the language. Again, rhetoric's very important because it tells you where people's heads are. What are we called now? Are we called citizens? We're called workers. We're called workers by CNN, MSNBC, the Biden administration, everyone in the party. We're workers. When's the last time you heard someone say citizen? That was a Democrat. Never happens. So they're looking at, if you bring people in and they are here, they get counted into the census, which increases representation. For about every 700,000-ish, give or take, you get a representative in your state. It's like 740,000 or something like that. So the more people you have, the more representatives you have. So it doesn't even matter if they vote for you or not. I mean, that's such a, they don't even care about voting, man. That's such an old school thing. That's like cute that people still think about voting. They're
Yeah.
way beyond that. So they're looking at like just turning the entire population over because look, they don't like America. They hate it. They hate Americanism. They hate the Constitution. They hate liberty. They hate all that stuff. They want
Yet they utilize all those rights. I have the right to say what I want. Yeah, you have the right because I joined the army to fucking defend our lands. You know what I mean? The hypocrisy is fucking ludicrous.
What is it, Dad?
So here's kind of something I don't get. I mean, maybe for the short game, the short term of it all, that these folks from Mexico and any type of Latin America maybe in the short term they can get their, Democrat vote. But I was always under the impression that they were more, their values meet more Republican values than Democrat values.
Correct.
So
here,
what?
that's a great
Yeah.
question.
No, because if you're getting a bunch of benefits, if you're literally, you just brought your family from the Panama Canal and beyond, or from the other side of the world, and the Democratic Party is why you're coming to this country. The word's out on the street, Biden's letting all of you in, and he's going to give you free shit.
And
You're going to keep
on
voting for
doing
that
it.
party.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe so, like in the short term, but in the long term, I mean, like, maybe the first 2 voting cycles, but then once you've been living here and your children and your like all those things, you're going to go back to those strict Catholic values that are more aligned with Republicans than they are with Democrats. You know what I mean?
But they're
No.
looking, I mean, we're getting near, as far as the party's concerned, we're getting near the end of ever having voting cycles again.
Well,
That's leaving, guys. Like voting is going to be a thing. It's going to be like a quaint idea in about 10 years.
I'm gonna water this down as much as I can, but you're also bringing in millions of people that are kind of used to being told what to do and beaten down, and you're bringing them in, and you're going to have this surplus of people that are used to that. It's familiar, even if it's not great.
Yes, Zeus,
it's what they're used to.
Zeus, you're stumbling into the,
and that's what concerns me. Is I listen? If we could house everybody that came across the border, I would be fine with it. I've already given my argument to have them join the military. And be part of it. What?
There's actually a theory floating around about that, because there have been some videos of like army sergeants with a number of male illegals in like locked away areas in airports, etc. And there's a theory that much like the Clone Wars, when we needed soldiers to go, to basically beat the separatists, that they're going to conscript these people. They're going to say, you want to be a citizen, you want all the bennies, you want to be Americans. Okay. Because a lot of them have military training already, believe it or not, because they were in their armies of their own countries.
And
that's not a good thing. I don't want mercenaries hired like the Romans did. You know what I mean? Like,
and is that towards citizens or is that towards foreign enemies?
No. Again, well, that's another thing. Who knows, Mike?
I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just asking questions here.
No, right?
Zeus.
I'm for some.
Zeus, why do you want to give guns to strangers?
I'm not saying you give them to everybody. I'm saying that
we're not vetting anybody.
Listen, when I joined the military, they checked my hearing, they checked my mental status, they checked all these things. I'm saying that if you're gonna have domestic terrorists in the army. I mean, come on, what fucking white nationalists? I mean, I'm like the bad ones, like the ones we talked about the other week.
Well, wait a minute. We already kicked everybody. We already kicked everybody out of the armed services that refused to take the Fauci ouchie. They're gone.
That Fauci ouchie.
They're gone. They're gone.
Man, that's why I love this show.
Whether you agree or not, you can understand my sentiment that giving them a way to earn money, and decent money in the military, and
the military is not a jobs program. It is not a charity,
but it's something that we can bolster. We can bolster our military.
It's supposed to be an elite force of people that are highly respected and patriotic. That's what it's supposed to be.
Worst case scenario, we attack Mexico and then we bail out and leave them there.
Look, the reason that we have trouble meeting our quotas with the military right now is because guys that are 17 years old are looking at this and they're like, I don't want to fucking be part of this crap, this DEI, whatever. Well, I don't want to go fight in the Ukraine and fight NATO's battles for it. I mean, people are not stupid. So that's why our recruitment for our armed forces,
we have high-ranking officials in the branches of our military forces that are men in drag.
Yes.
I mean, and we have promotional commercials, not like be all that you can be like when we were kids. It's like these heartwarming stories about the young girl with two moms, and
And-
it's a cartoon. Like I mean,
And-
who are they trying to get to join the force here? I
And-
not
I
Have you
don't
ever
get
seen the movie Idiocracy.
what?
Have you ever seen the movie Idiocracy?
Yes, dude.
I feel like we're there. Why come
Look.
you don't have a tattoo?
The military is supposed to do things that kill people and break stuff. Like that's what their job
right.
is.
That's the job.
And we've turned them into, I don't know, romper room. Like I don't even know what they are. Like some, but back to Zeus's point with the people coming here, and this sounds horrible, and it's not. I look, full disclosure, and I've said this a million times on the show. If I were these people, if I was living in whatever, name the country in South America, Central America,
Esquels El Salvador.
and I had a chance to hop a train or get up here, I would do it in 2 seconds. And so would most of the people I know. So I don't fault those people.
No, I don't fault them at all.
My beef is not with those people. Now, once they're here, if they're fucking around, okay, then I got an issue. But I get it. I get why they're coming. My issues is with the people in DC. But that being said, the people that are coming here, they're not coming from representative democracies and
Right.
places that are stalwarts of Western civilization and philosophy. And they're coming from places that are like strong men, authoritarian, tyrannical dictators. That's where they're coming from. Colombia, Ecuador,
Venezuela.
Nicaragua,
They're coming from a
Guatemala.
place where a
So
massive drug dealer nearly got political placement, like
yeah,
Pablo Escobar.
that's who
No,
they have
no.
coming here. That's their background. And just like we're not teaching our children civics, and our parents barely taught our generation civics. I mean, Gen X, it's a disaster. I mean, maybe like 1 out of 3 people I meet have any idea of what's going on.
We're Gen X.
It's
I
all
think
we're
doing
all.
pretty good.
I know that. I'm saying
not.
even in our generation and after, we've already
Except
stopped
you guys.
teaching civics, and now you've got people coming in. They don't know who Harry Truman is. They have no idea about the founding father. They don't know what the Declaration of Independence. They have no idea. And we used to do this thing that was called, like, we'd bring people in and we'd have them assimilate. If you talk about assimilation now, you might as well be talking about, like, I don't even know what. I mean, what,
Yeah,
like
but
murdering babies? Like, I mean, it's like the
No,
worst
yeah.
thing in the world when you talk about
Yeah, white
assimilation.
supremacy, white
White
supremacy.
supremacy.
interesting you mentioned the assimilation thing, because I read a book, I want to say it was Ramses the Damned by Anne Rice, and they talk a lot about how the way countries get conquered is through assimilation of the other group. When you have a kid with somebody from another ethnic group, you align yourself with them, and that's how they take over, because eventually, you start to take on some of the beliefs of your spouse or whatever, baby mama, whatever. But that is how most, like, the Mesopotamia is one that
Yeah.
stands out in particular. Like, they were completely taken over by just assimilating people from outside of.
But listen,
Well-
America is
That is where we have a problem.
But what I'm saying is, listen, a lot of people don't understand this. America is a unicorn. The United States of America is a unicorn. This country and the way it's constructed, nothing like it has ever existed. I mean, we are the top of the pyramid as far as when you talk about humans having a self-governing form of government, right? I mean, we're as crappy as it can be, we're at the top. And the fact is, most people, they don't even know what that is. Like, again, God bless them, whatever. Most people in the world don't understand what this country is about. And unlike, say, like Japan, right? Japan's very homogenous. We talked about Japan, very homogenous population. They're all Japanese. Their culture is like very, insular.
But they're
in a way.
massive xenophobes.
They are, right. So if you had people like crossing, like Japan would never just allow people just to come storming in. The difference is, because they're not Japanese, the difference is here in America, because we are a melting pot, okay? Because we come from all over the world, and because being an American isn't about your skin, and it's not about where you were born, And it's not about how long you've been here.
About being
It's
an
not
American.
about how many generations you have in the ground. And it's not about how much money you make. And it's not about any of that stuff. It's about an idea. It's about a way of looking at the world. And so we can assimilate people, even if they come in, like I said, from countries that are horrible. I mean, again, God bless these people, whatever. And there are stories left and right about people coming
Yeah.
to our country and embracing it. And that's why it offends me so much when people are like, oh, this is racist. It hasn't. Take the racist crap, take the race crap. I don't give a shit. It's an idea. Americanism is
Yeah,
an
but
idea.
Mike, like you just said, like you talked about the nullification and the erasure of history, right? Now, when you've got Gen Xers like ourselves that were barely taught any civics, we knew some basics of American history, dates of this battle, that such a thing, you know, but and now the next two generations know even less or care even less. So
It's
even
more
if these
scary than
even
less.
if these migrants were to quote unquote be assimilated, what are they being assimilated into? It's a
Right.
very uninformed, very I don't think what's the word? It's not unproud, but I mean it's a populace
Associated.
that really doesn't give a shit about their own history and their own classical values. So even if these people come and they move next to you, who are you? You know what I mean? Like, what do you care about the country? I mean, you talk to people, and like you said, you see these man on the street videos where they're interviewing like young people or even like middle-aged people, and they can't really tell you anything about American history.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I'm a professor. I'm
You
also
don't, yeah.
woefully uninformed. I don't read history. I'm not reading like history books of American every day. It doesn't, you know what I mean? Like I know what I know, and if I want to know more, then
You
I
look into it.
will. But so even if these people wanted to assimilate, which I don't know how much of that you can do with language barriers, with limited
And
income, like
Well, I don't
like
think language barriers are going to be very much
well,
longer.
but
I think
even
that's not going to be a
but
problem.
even though, even with the assimilation, you're talking about the education class in our country, right? The journalism schools, the teaching schools, the universities, the place where people go to learn.
no, forget it.
They hate the country. So
Right,
Well,
they
what are
it's
they
hate the country.
assimilating into?
instead
I
of
mean,
Right.
it's like, why
um,
do I give a shit what some white dude that lived 400 years ago that hated black people and had slaves and
Mhm,
but like I don't fuck that guy. Like I don't care about like natural rights. Like
mhm.
I mean, in other words, there's no way to assimilate them. And the reason is because the people in power in the party do not like this country. And people
Right.
need to wake up and understand that. Look, you can like America or not like America. And I'm not going to be like, go live somewhere else, or if you don't like it, then leave or whatever.
no, I
But
am
you
about if you don't like
but
it here, get the fuck
but you
out.
do need to be honest and understand that the people that are propagandizing you and that are talking to you and that are members of this party hate the country. Like you got to at least acknowledge that. Like you got to come to terms with that somehow. I don't think people understand that.
And
I
how can
just don't
people
think they
live with
do.
that on either side? How can you live with hating where you are? And
Yeah.
yet in the same, I said it earlier, but in the same right, using every right that has been given to you by this country, freedom of speech, freedom to bear arms, whatever, using those very rights to dismiss the people that gave you those rights. It's a fucking shit show.
Well, even
Wait.
like if you look at the people that are coming over and you look at I'm trying to remember, it was an interview I saw, and you know, from my perspective, I'm like, man, I just want to go meet this dude and be like, hey man, I know how you got here is fucked up, but here's what the country's about. It's really great, like individual liberty and like consent, like but his mindset is this is Aslan. Like we're just Reconquista, right? Like La Raza. Like we're just Arizona is part of Mexico. Like, and there's people in our country that are like, oh yeah, that is like the academics and the people at the party.
Right. Yeah, it
So
was all stolen
the
land anyway.
bridge, like the there's no like the gorge between like where say someone like me is and some of these people, again, no fault of their own, where when they're coming across, it's a gorge, it's such a wide gulf of like understanding of what the situation is. The reality I'm seeing is not the reality that they are seeing
And
at all.
No,
I mean,
and
not
a
even
lot,
close.
and look, let's be real. A lot of these people coming up here, like they've already talked in New York City about they have formed basically criminal gangs where they have a circuit where they just rip people off and rip stores off on motorized bikes and motorized scooters. Like it's from everything from pickpocketing to breaking in or walking into department stores. They get all this stuff, they hawk it, they get the money, they go party in Florida, and then they come back and they get more money by robbing more people. I mean, like we're not
You're not exaggerating.
yeah, like Trump said, what was Trump's famous line? You know, they're not sending their best.
Yeah, they're
You
not
know,
sending their best.
like they're not. But
Understatement of the year.
hey, wait a second. Let me just get back into
Yeah,
some of the meaty details. Now, one of these things for the border, the 20 billion, right? A couple of the bill, well, that
for
includes
cages for the children.
no, like everybody thinks it's no to secure everybody, right? To secure the border. It includes funds for sanctuary cities because we got, we got to do something with these people.
Oh, so now we send them somewhere and then
we're letting them in. We're letting them in. It also includes training of our personnel in environmental resource impact and racial diversity training for the border patrol, like, sensitivity training, that kind of thing. So that's important to spend our taxpayer money on. And here's something I thought was really interesting. Who's actually facilitating a lot of this? Who are the boots on the ground? It's actually nonprofit NGOs get tons of this money. And these are the same academic elites. These are these quote unquote charitable or a non-government
organization.
Okay. Okay, so they create little sanctuary pathways. A lot of times that includes avoiding border patrol altogether, assisting with processing, humanitarian aid, etc., shuttles, illegal entry. It's whatever they can do to help these poor people. Now, here's some of the language: refugee assistance activities to provide quote unquote culturally appropriated services, which include housing assistance, medical assistance, legal assistance, because we're going to need more immigration lawyers paid by us. And of course, it's called ease management. Ease, with the transition, we got to make things a little easier. We got to coddle people right from the jump, as soon as they get in. And then as far as like, how does this bill actually stop the flow, right? This is the real meat and potatoes of this. This is my favorite part. This is epic. Okay. Well, first of all, the bill makes it basically easier for entry for asylum seekers, giving them work permits as well. Okay. The whole bill, we already talked about it, was to get the Republicans to look like they don't care about the border because they're not going to pass this piece of shit legislation.
That's how
cynical this is. So now Biden can say these lousy MAGA Republicans, they're stopping me from securing the border. Okay, it does not end catch and release. We're still going to do that en masse. Okay, it doesn't crack down on the cartels or the drugs in any way. And the people are still released with a court date, sometimes years later. Okay, and they're given a debit card or an ATM card and a cell phone. Now, these people, it should also be noted, there are reporters that have gone to the beginning of these migrations, as far down as like Panama, and they start out these trips with money and with cell phones. And a lot of times they get robbed along the way. So who's funding that? The Bon Voyage trip, where they learn how to rehearse how to qualify for asylum. Who's training them? Where did the Biden-Harris T-shirts come from when they all came marching up wearing them on Biden's opening week? This is the shit that we're never going to know without journalists. Okay,
Well,
so
they were
here it
probably
is.
made down there. I mean, if
Well, that you get my point though. Aliens are shuffled to ports of entry, but catch and release remains in non-custodial proceedings. So this is much more streamlined.
look at the term you use, catch and release. They're literally being treated like bred fish. I mean, I'm not
Yes.
being,
Yeah.
I'm not even being like
You know-
diminishing them, but that they're literally catch and release. It's like, God.
I just realized something. We may start seeing people coming up with Baltimore Ravens AFC Champions 2024 t-shirt.
Yo, you're gonna. That's right. Okay, so this is
likely.
wait, this is important language. So we've already talked about in previous episodes what qualifies for seeking asylum, okay? And basically, well, they've changed that now. So I'll get into it.
Oh boy.
It used to
Or
be
change definitions.
no, it used to be that you were it was a significant possibility that you would be persecuted for, for the grounds, whether it's your religion, your race, social mores, whatever. There's a government that's going to persecute you. That's significantly possible. Now that's been reduced to reasonably possible. Okay, so now they've gone out of their way to say, okay, we're going to make it a little easier. It doesn't have to be significant, but it's reasonable.
That's like my neighbor was throwing eggs at my house.
And
I have
again,
to get out of there.
here's the thing that everyone, as Jack's reading this, and this is very educational. So these things are being changed not to make the
Make it
process
strict.
better. They're being
No.
changed to make sure more people come in
Right.
and that they still have political cover. Like that's the reason. that
I
they're doing
honestly-
it this way.
I think honestly, the brilliance of this is and I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm not saying I'm brilliant, but the brilliance of this is they're taking a maligned people, of people that have mostly lived in squat. I'm not saying everybody, obviously,
Not really. Yeah.
but people that have been beaten the shit out of for fucking centuries, and they're giving them a place that will be better, and they're giving them money.
I don't believe that.
Yeah,
I think it is.
They're not. It's not
I
better.
don't believe that.
No,
I
no,
think
but I'm
I
saying
think
then
you're
they get
buying the
here,
rhetoric.
and then they do the same thing to them, and they're like, okay, but at least
They're not assimilating them into us. They're assimilating us into them.
Yes.
Right. And also, come on, these people go there with a rehearsed script to validate whether they're reasonably in danger of persecution. They're not being beaten down and all these people aren't being hunted down in the streets in their country. They're coming up here because our economy is better at the moment than theirs.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying for now. What I'm saying is that you have a people that their culture is used to being just riddled with inequity, and you're going to send them here.
I don't know that.
Here's my thing. Let me finish.
I don't know that.
I'm saying not now. Get them here. Get them happy. Make them fine, and then later on, the story changes, and they're malleable to the environmental treatment that they've been used to before. In other words,
maybe.
we're just gonna do you see where I'm coming from here? Like they're getting a whole stock of people that they can fucking manipulate because it's still just this much better, and they're just there.
Here
Problem comes around, get them to vote.
Let me be very, very, very clear. The party doesn't give, and sorry, Mom, the party does not give a flying fuck about these people.
Whoa, language.
They don't care about these people. They don't care about these people.
Exactly.
All these little things like,
they're fucking puppets.
They don't
They're
give
meat puppets.
a flying fuck about these people.
They're
It's about
meat
what
puppets.
it means for them, and that's it. They don't care if these people die. They don't care if these people's children are killed. They don't give a shit. They don't
trying to change
care.
the voting
place
demographic.
why it reminds me of this, but do you remember in South Park, Bigger, Better, Uncut, when they had like all the African American soldiers and they're like all standing in front?
I never saw that movie. I mean, I should have.
Oh, it's a great movie. But and I think they were called Operation Meat Shield, something like that.
It's like the Irish, dude.
That's what I'm saying. They're setting up for the future. Again, I say it all the time. This is choreography. They're planning for this.
Quick
You know what I
question,
mean?
Desiree. Desiree, I've got a quick question. So where you are, like, what do you see people that are coming from the either Canada or Mexico, like in your area around Wichita? Like, has it gotten there? Like, you're like you're like the belly button of the country,
Well,
right?
it's always been here. I mean,
Yeah, but I mean, like more. Like I drive to work. I have actually seen charter buses unloading people at the Naval Observatory that Abbott sent up. Like, I've actually seen that on my way to work. I'm just saying, in here in the DC area, it's bananas. I mean, it's bananas. And I know New York is bananas. I just don't know.
I I don't
Not
know.
not as much.
I don't know. I don't think so. But I'm also not looking for it either. I mean,
Fair
I
enough.
guess I mean I've noticed like a lot an uptick in like non-English speaking, people at work. I've noticed like an increase in those, but I mean that doesn't necessarily I don't know, because it's always kind of been around. There's always
Right.
been a lot of like Hispanic populations here because it's Kansas, so there's a lot of farm workers, there's a lot of that kind of for those jobs. But also you
Right.
got to remember too, I'm from California where
Right.
people that
Mhm.
whole like bit about people like going to the Home Depot and just picking up a truckload of Mexicans, that was a thing that happened all the fucking time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I mean,
Oh yeah.
still
I'm,
happening.
Yeah, it
but
happens here too.
we're well beyond that. I mean, we have, I mean, and again, this may be another episode, but the vast majority of these people coming in are military age males,
Mhm.
16 to 30. And the number that we're getting in from like China and
Mhm.
Turkey and every country on the planet. I mean, in this country, to say like to people coming across the southern border are Mexicans, I have no idea what the percentage is, but I know it's not many that are
Mhm.
Mexican. Like it's from everywhere. It's from all over the world. And
Yeah, and actually there are exceptions. If you're actually from Mexico or Canada, there are certain parts of this bill where you're affected negatively or you're not as welcomed in certain categories as you would be if you were from anywhere,
anywhere
everywhere
else,
else.
which is,
And
yeah,
which goes against what asylum's supposed to be,
yes,
which is you go to the next safe adjacent country.
yes,
It's not, hey, we are the world, everybody come to America from all over the place. I mean, they've completely done away with even what asylum seekers are where they're supposed to be going.
yeah.
I mean,
And
it's
listen,
totally insane.
to
But
my friends who are like members of the party and stuff like that, think I'm crazy, I'm like, look, a lot of these rules that we're talking about, there is something to be said about living under laws and not living at the whim of men or women. Like,
Mhm.
in other words, the whole idea of like we are a nation of laws means there's a published set of rules that you can go and look at, and you can know where you stand in relation to the laws, and you can be law abiding, versus living in a tyranny where it's laws of man, which means Zeus is the supreme ruler.
Oh, don't even use that term with me. I'm under so much heat right now.
And
I'll be the supreme leader.
if Zeus says you can't wear your Make
Can't.
Baltimore Great Again hat, then you can't wear it. And again, it's like people, I don't know. I don't even know where I was
Well,
going.
yeah, I mean, no, we talked about the idea from the elites and the academics and the WEF. There's that guy, I've seen it on a lot of different podcasts that I like. They've played this clip from a TED talk
Mhm.
from this globalist named Harari, Yusuf Harari or
Yes,
something.
very familiar.
And he's well respected by the WEF. He's one of their keynote speakers. And he basically said that God, natural rights, and human rights, it's all made up.
Mhm.
It's a fairy tale. It's a
Yeah.
unicorn. It's a nice story, but it's not real. And these people like clapping seals, like, yay, you tell them.
You said smart words.
as soon as you convince the populace that natural rights and civil rights and human rights are just something that we've given ourselves and they don't really count, a lot of bad shit can happen.
That's a big,
Yeah,
wide open door, man.
yeah.
This is
But-
kind of so I've talked about this before, but like religion wasn't always for the poor and the wretched and the unwashed. It was for the rich.
Oh boy.
And what did allow it was Saint Aquinas and Al-Farabi, these philosophers. And maybe we're just at this like philosophical vacuum right now where the philosophies have to change, because we don't really have any philosophers now.
No,
I'd
it's
say the closest-
postmodernism. That's what
I'd
killed
say the
everything.
closest we got to a philosopher right now is maybe Jordan Peterson, to a degree, because he claims to be right, but he says a lot of things that you can't argue on either side. But we don't really have like a philosopher that stands out, that gives us a new perspective on what's going on right now.
No,
I
there's
think
intellectuals on both sides of these issues. You have
But are they
Jordan Peterson, you
philosophers?
have this guy Harari. I mean, like there are intelligent people that have different positions and different viewpoints, right? I mean, Peterson is one side, and this guy Harari is on a different side. But the problem is our colleges and our administrators and all the people in power are on the same side.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I mean, again, it's easy, and I'm very familiar with that Harari guy. We can do a whole episode on that. But again, the thing that I've learned in my short, how 32 years on this planet, is that the people who are the most like this Harari guy, who stands on the shoulders of people that were self-made, people that took risk, people that have a moral center that does include supreme being, whether you believe in God or not. But that, in other words, when I talk about like believing in a supreme being, it's the absence of hubris. It's the absence of arrogance in thinking that you are the center of the world. That's really what I'm getting at. But anyway, he stands on the shoulders of all these people that did stuff, that built the WEF, that designed airplanes so he can fly there. And then he gets in this position and he starts preaching about how like it's all bullshit. And that's why intellectually, like I would love to have a conversation with that guy, because I feel like within 10 minutes he'd be, and I'm just a lowly dude and he's like up here and I'm like, he's weak, man. He doesn't, I mean, to sit there and take, people talk about privilege, take all that privilege and then get up there and be like, this is all crap. The foundation of everything we're dealing with is crap. Humans don't have any special rights. Humans are not, born with any sort of like inalienable rights or anything like that. It's like, that's really rich coming from a guy whose entire paycheck and everything he has was built by people who agree with me, not with him, Anyway, these people crack me up, man, whenever they get on there and start preaching like that.
Again, I'll say it again. Whoever, if any of you watch Hunger Games, it's feeling more and more like Hunger Games. all the
Man,
time.
So here's a question. Should I watch? I've never watched it, and everyone keeps talking about it. Is it
What's
a
that?
disaster? Is it good? Is it a good movie? Good
What
series?
movie?
Hunger,
Games.
the one you
Yes,
just brought
it's
up.
fantastic. But the book is actually better, obviously better than the movie. But it's really, I mean, this is back when with my talk about smart cities. It's like smart cities scare me a lot more than a lot of things, because if you can get a group of people that share a lot of thought processes and you can manage to put them in a small area, you can literally eliminate the competition much easier, whatever it is at the time. But yeah, so it's basically post-nuclear war, and everything's separated into districts. You're assuming it's the, United States, this world that we're living in, but they're separated in like District 13, District 12, and then they have the Hunger Games, which is this, they take the most athletically elite from each of those groups and they fight it out in this dome, and and that determines that their district gets their money.
Okay.
So like I get these weird vibes of that, of like, you were saying earlier that we're melting pot, Michael, and my argument is we are no fucking where near a
Yeah,
melting
we
pot.
should be a melting pot.
We are fucking divided into so many subsets and so many different little groups that we walk around on eggshells. What can we say? And like you guys were saying earlier before the show when I was talking about my issues, you're like, I don't say those things at work. But no, man. I'm a fucking human being. I understand what you're saying, but it's not in my nature.
I got you.
Say nonsense, I'm gonna fucking argue it.
But then you're gonna have to deal with the consequence. That's fine. But
have I not? Have I not?
I know that. I know, but I'm just saying that's the natural.
But that's the way the world should be. You should be able to say what you want to say, as long as you're not encouraging damage to other people or encouraging violence, things like that. You should be able to have an alternative point of view, which mine is not. But the point is that we're getting into this place where everything you say and do is measured, and if it's measured poorly, you're canceled. And now the canceling is on a microcosm level. It's like I have my own little way of getting canceled in my own little group, at work, whatever.
I just thought of another great episode we could do that ties right into what Zeus is saying.
But you feel what I'm saying? It's
where
the world is, like, society is fucking going through this horrible, ugly, malformed change, and I am really, I get more and more despondent sometimes with this show. After I leave a show, it used to be that I left it and it was cathartic and it was great, and it still is for the most part, but sometimes I leave the show and I'm just like, there's no fucking chance for us. We're fucking dead in the water.
Water.
Well, hey, look, let me just wrap up the bill, okay? Because Because look, if it's a border security bill, so far I've mentioned how they've eased up on the definition of what's required to basically seek asylum, like as if they had to water that down more. Well, they did. They watered down the language. But now here's where the muscle of border security is on full display. When can they shut this shit down? Now let's talk about that.
Oh boy.
The Secretary Mayorkas, okay, he may, M-A-Y, he may stop the flow if over 4,000 that we know about are processed a day for 7 consecutive days. Okay? 7 consecutive days, 4,000, right? So then if that happens, it's up to him. He might say, okay, wait a minute, we got to step in with the authority granted by this bill, and we got to shut this down temporarily with my emergency powers. He doesn't have to. Okay? And that does not apply to children from beyond Mexico or Canada or their families either. So they're going to get in no matter what. Okay, it also doesn't apply to gotaways, which is anybody they know about who got through outside of a port of entry.
Who got away.
Which is thousands, is thousands in and of itself. Okay, so that doesn't count. Now he must exercise the emergency powers if it's over 5,000 at the ports of entry for 7 consecutive days. Okay, so the president doesn't have to do anything, but if the secretary were to do this, the president could say, nah, open it back up. He's allowed. And also the secretary of the DHS, there's only a small window or a limited number of days that he can stop the flow per calendar year. And that window gets smaller and smaller as each year.
He's not going to do that until the 7th day.
One quick point.
Wait until it's gotten out of hand, and then on the 7th day he goes, no, open it up.
Zeus. What's going to happen is the cartels and the powers that be that open the spigot at the point of the beginning of this migration crisis, all they have to do is slow things down for a day. Hey,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just
They
send,
let
just
it
Scratch
send,
my
out of
back,
hand.
I'll scratch your back.
yeah,
No,
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 hey
but-
guys, just talk to the migration, just talk to the group and say, hey, everybody, we're gonna camp out for
Tuesdays
the
off.
night. We're gonna camp out for the night here in
Then
in
open the floodgates.
Honduras.
Taco Tuesdays, no one crosses the border.
Hey,
Yeah.
hey, little racial.
And listen,
Little
one
racial.
thing to add to Jack's point here that people just some context, Jack, and I don't know if you read this part of it, but I found this very interesting. That back during Obama the Great's administration, that his secretary, Jay Johnson, said that anything over 1,000 a day was untenable.
Mm-hmm. Not anymore.
And this bill says 5,000 a day.
Jack, to what you're saying, and what I'm saying is that Biden will let it happen for the 7 days, call it quits, already got out of hand, and then start it up again
He's
immediately.
already breaking laws every 5
Yeah.
seconds, dude.
Yeah,
He's already
he should be
ignoring
closing
everything.
it up anyway. He
Like,
should
why
be
do we need
closing it
another
up.
law for him to ignore?
No, and also if you do the math on this, okay, even if they allow just under these numbers, you're still talking about, millions
Yeah.
a year. Now there was I think it was a Harvard study back in 2018 that said at that point there were 18 million illegals in the country.
What is it now?
And that was 2018. So now we're talking what? Almost 30 million?
Yeah, it's like
Gotta
1
be.
100.
I hate that
It's-
I'm going to say this, but I saw this on, I think it was on Instagram. It was like the numbers of people that have come into the United States while Trump was here, and then as soon as Biden got here, it was like in the
Oh, shoot.
millions almost immediately. It was like 400,000, I think, when Trump was here, something like that. And then
Yeah.
the next year was like 1.2 million. The next year was like 3 million.
Mhm.
Next year, it's exorbitant, and thank God they're not. Well, I wish that's what they were trying to bury Trump with, because that would be inarguable.
Here's
Well, and also
Yeah.
there are handcuffs on ICE. ICE used to deport people if they committed crimes and whatnot, and they were found not to be here illegally.
Yeah,
And
here's an interesting.
they're not allowed to do their job anymore.
Here's an interesting little fact. And maybe I won't call it a fact, but my understanding, because I work with a very multicultural group of people, and one thing that they used to do before even Trump is if you had a group of, I think, like more than 5 people standing on a corner, they were considered a gang, which fell under RICO, so they could be deported. And now, if I go up to the 7-Eleven, there's like fucking 30 people standing in front of the store.
Yeah, the one by your house. I know.
Yeah. So I wonder, and again, I do not want to malign any Latin Americans. I fucking love them. They're great. They're fine with me. I understand the border issues and all that, but the people that I've met, for the most part, they want to be here. So that's already good. Good. I'm fine with that. You want to be here. Like, but this is Annandale in Virginia, it's a different atmosphere. But I find it interesting that now these people are like, fine, we can stand in groups of 10 or 12. It used to be like a parameter, like, at least there were rules to stay under. And
Yeah.
you follow us? I'm not trying to belittle them or anything, but at least there was like a logical thought process for people
Look,
to.
You should just be able to call up ICE and be like, hey, look,
Look,
Yeah.
we either
such and
have
such
right-
restaurant's got about 7 working back there. It ain't
Look,
legal.
we
Maybe
either
that
have
stay
walk
No.
back
bust.
from this, so I don't
Guys,
sound,
guys,
so I don't sound as
our
racist as it sounded. But you
no,
guys,
our government is validating lawbreakers.
Yes, I'm saying we either have rules or we don't. Does anyone out
Right.
here have like a child that's like a preteen or younger? Like,
Mhm.
you know about teaching about rules and stuff like that.
yeah.
This whole thing, myself, I feel like a total sucker, man. I don't even
Yeah,
know
me
why.
too.
Like, why am I even
I feel like we've been
pretending
bamboozled.
what the rules are? Like, I mean, I'm a pretty resourceful dude. I could like break the rules, right? But I don't. I mean,
No,
what is
because-
going on here? I mean, we're talking about the collapse of civil society. I mean, let's be honest. I mean,
Really
we're talking
frightening.
about
Really
people
frightening.
coming in that are of a different culture. They don't, whatever. God bless them.
Wait,
But
I got One
Yeah.
more thing.
Yeah,
One
I'm
more
sorry.
thing.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. One more thing on this bill that I thought was kind of important. Right now, with these immigration issues going on, if it gets kicked up out of immigration court to the appellate court, it would go to like the Fifth Circuit.
Mhm.
Not anymore. Now, all immigration appeals go to the Court of Appeal of Washington, D.C.
Disaster.
It's those judges and those courts that are going to oversee not even constitutional issues, any issues, administrative, constitutional, whatever. It all gets appealed to Washington, D.C. court. That's game over.
That's the swamp, baby. That's what I'm saying. We need to be breaking up the courts in DC, not giving them more things to do.
No, they're now in charge.
It's
And
crazy.
guys, the whole point of this too, it's not just to make the Republicans look bad. It's codification by the legislature. So if Trump were to win, he can't just do whatever he wants.
Right.
Now there's legislature in place that says, no, this is the way it works.
Well,
He
again,
might be he
well-
might be able to stop it if it goes over 5,000 for 7 consecutive days. He could do it for 45 days up to that point. But his
Can I just
hands
say
are
something to people real quick? We
Yeah, go ahead,
are,
man.
what was it, 5 votes during 2022, the midterm elections? We're like 5 House seats away
from
from
losing.
never knowing about the Twitter files, never getting to the bottom of the Hunter Biden laptop.
We still haven't.
I'm just saying, but I mean, not even
Not
as
even
much as
trying.
we have. Never getting into a million things, man. Like getting into like all the stuff they threw at Trump, getting it. I mean, all this lawfare that's going on right now. And then you look at the committee of to weaponize the government, and if that never exists, it's like the whole thing with Hillary Clinton with the with deleting 30,000 emails. We wouldn't learn about that either. We wouldn't learn
No.
about the origins of the PP tape hoax. We wouldn't know about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
It would have been. And so, how much do we not know still? I mean,
Right.
seriously,
Here's
how
the-
much do we not know? The pipe.
No,
bomb?
this has
Go
been
watch
a
the pipe
coup.
bomb episode. Like, what the
This-
fuck is going on
No.
with
That
that,
was a
man?
great episode.
That story just keeps on getting crazier.
Wait,
Yeah,
which
apparently
story?
now
The
the
pipe
guy
bomb.
works in the government,
Oh, the
and
pipe
they're
bomb.
not gonna. Yeah.
That's an insane story going on right now. It's getting worse.
You know what's crazy is like I'll talk to people about the show. You know, I want to get people to listen, and when I'll talk to people on the left, and I'm like, we had the guy that got the laptop, and they're like, he's a spy. I'm like, watch the fucking show.
Yeah.
This guy gives off no spy vibes at all.
It's
No, he's not.
Coca-Cola, dude. That's
Like,
the
he's not a
propaganda. It
covert
works.
op. He will never
No,
covert op. He wasn't a covert op in a past life. He won't be
no.
a
Trump.
future.
Trump only won. Trump only won in 2016 because he colluded with Russia. They
Does
still
he-
believe that.
There's the PP tape. Yeah.
One
What's the
second.
PP tape?
I don't even know, man. I just like saying it. I want, you know what I want? If I want to do is I don't have any VHS tapes, but if I did, I would like have all my movies, and then I would take one and write PP tape on it and just stick it in there. So when people came over to my house, they would be like, "This that." But yeah, I mean, I'm just saying all this.
Just have it be like Eddie and the Cruisers.
Yes,
PP
PP tape. I'm just saying.
Like, hey, I don't know about the PP tape, but that album it rocks.
I'm just tired of like talking about stuff that's not real. Like people, like the party is just dishonest with the terms they use, the words, the
But that-
definitions, the
But the one
language.
about John Paul McIsaac being some kind of spy, I want to meet the guy and shake his hand.
Well,
The guy is so far, and he's very right. He politically, we probably don't agree on everything, but he's a sweetheart of a guy.
But would John Paul be like the worst spy ever?
He would be the worst spy.
I mean-
he will never be a spy in his life. He couldn't spy in a middle school.
And I'm not even talking. I'm not even getting into that. I'm just saying this guy is so
He's a sweet,
he's
kind
so
guy.
straight up about everything. Like he wears it on his sleeve. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
preposterous, man. I mean, it's just again, it's the whole like, which do you believe? Like,
Like,
oh, he's a
here's the
Russian
thing.
spy in Wilmington,
The fact
Delaware.
that he was crafty enough to like, or salacious enough to take the laptop after the 180 days and what he did with it, that's beyond me that he even pulled that off.
And here's my whole thing too. This is the other thing I love about that whole theory. And okay, so he's a spy. Okay, is the laptop for real or not? Like, is the information legit or not? Like, let's
That
get
guy's not
past
a
it.
liar.
Right, it's true. It's not fake. So I don't even at this point I don't even care where it came from, but whatever.
And De La Roca just added more legitimacy to him because he's a fucking seems like a straight shooter too. Like,
Yeah,
that one is one that drives me nuts because I'm like, look, you keep talking. Everybody wants to dismiss the Hunter Biden laptop thing, and like,
that's the
There-
uninformed, dude. That's what I'm talking about.
No,
It
misinformed.
gives me an aneurysm.
Misinformed.
It gives me an aneurysm.
Sometimes willfully, sometimes not. But you know, I get it.
So,
I get
Jeff,
what
how do you feel about where are we at with the show?
Oh, I think it's a
I guess we've been on.
whoa,
I mean,
whoa. I need to know what just happened in Kansas. What was that, Desiree?
I don't even know.
I didn't see
Desiree,
know what
it.
I've been-
You're like,
Desiree, did you just fart?
No, I just like yawned and I tried to keep it in and it didn't stay in.
yeah, I didn't know if there was a spirit that came through.
I think Desiree just booted.
No,
All
I've been
right.
staring at the sun on Mike's
Well,
picture. And I
yeah,
was
I have-
thinking,
Me too.
I was
Yeah.
thinking, you know, what would have really been cool is if during the episode that sun was like a little bit higher in the sky.
Yeah, it went
And
past.
yeah, and then like I guess that yawn just I don't fucking know what happened.
Well, all right. Well, look, does anybody else have anything to add? Because otherwise, we have been on for a while tonight.
I'm gonna quote
Build the wall.
Curly from Full
Build the
Metal
wall.
Jacket and say that we are in a world of shit.
Yeah, perhaps. But we have been on for a while. I think it's time we wrap things up. What do you guys think? Everybody agree? We good?
I agree.
Okay. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching, and we'll be back with another episode next week. Peace out.